Matt from the Trade Brigade here doing a technical analysis on ticker symbol SOFI for SoFi Technologies. On the left-hand side, we have the daily time frame, and on the right-hand side, the 30-minute intraday time frame. First things first, this will, of course, be an update. We've talked about it extensively on the channel in the past. However, we're going to start with a brand new daily roadmap, just coming in and pointing out the most obvious areas of support and resistance. Then we'll talk more nuance as we drill down to the 30-minute intraday time frame. So just coming in and quickly pointing out the areas that I'm seeing. I'm not saying all of these or any of them will be in play. I just want to know where they're at in case we make a move outside of, what we are about to forecast from the daily and 30-minute chart. So certainly pointing out that we are getting a little bit of lift off of this area of support, 1442. Obviously, the entire market was sort of moving in sympathy to the FOMC announcement that came out from Jerome Powell. Stocks were moving higher into the close here, and SoFi was no exception. We are overall, though, in a daily downtrend. You'll notice that we do have highs, lower highs, and lows, lower lows, and lower lows. So don't forget that. Could this be the start of a reversal? Yeah, it could be, but overall, we are still in a daily downtrend. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at the extended hour session, because what you'll notice is we are actually gapping up as of right now. Now, it's not a guarantee. Obviously, a lot can happen between now, and 9:30. However, we want to know about where the overnight high is. We want to know where the forecasted opening print is, and we also want to know where the high of today's session was. With that out of the way, let's turn that off. Let's take a closer look at this on the 30. We usually do it on the daily, but the 30 will do for now. What I want to point out is that whenever we're dealing with a gap, scenario number one, whether or not it's up or down does not matter, is always the gap and trap. And what that looks like is opening here, failing to find new buyers up and over the overnight high, trading lower back through the open to trigger a short to fill the gap, essentially this space right here, to today's high of day at 1528. Now, don't get me wrong. This is a fairly small range. On SoFi, it's not that attractive, to be quite honest with you. The risk reward does make sense, but still overall, what is that? About 20-ish cents, give or take, 22, 25-ish cents. Not the most attractive thing in the world. So I would probably look for other opportunities and not necessarily look to actively short this, but you would just avoid longs in that instance if that's what starts to unfold. Now, if you are so inclined to short it, what actually is refreshing about SoFi is that the shares are easy to borrow here in Thinkorswim, so you can short the shares. And even if you didn't want to do that, you can go short via puts here, noticing that we have plenty of liquidity at something like the 14 strike, although you're trading like a 7-cent option. It doesn't really make too much sense in my estimation. I'd rather short the shares, but you do whatever you're comfortable doing. Just note that you can play downside here inside of SoFi. The flip side of this coin, the one I'm sure a lot more people are interested in, is scenario number two, which is the gap and go. And what that looks like is opening here, finding new buyers up and over the overnight high. And as of right now, because the open and overnight high are so close, it would probably pan out to be like a bull flag kind of in this general area here. And then if that structure is put in, looking for breakouts to start retracing some more of this emotional sell-off lower with an ultimate target, from the daily. Obviously, it's here at 1727, but let's take a closer look from the 30-minute perspective and see what else we can find, noting that that's kind of pushing it, right? That's kind of outside of the scope of what SoFi typically does. This sort of catches my eye around 16 even. It was a prior shelf of support. We would expect it to act as resistance. We gapped around it from in here, didn't really get a nice interaction to sort of see if it would act as an important level, but because it's a psychological number, because it's sort of a reasonable target for SoFi to hit, I would start thinking about that area as a potential place to reevaluate the position. Now, it doesn't mean just sell everything, but maybe start to consider, if you start printing inverted hammers, maybe take off half the position, maybe trail your stop loss up higher, maybe take off 3/4 of the position. I can't tell you exactly what to do, but that's an area of interest on the upside move here at 16 inside of SoFi. Anything above that, start looking for that 17 quarter, noting that maybe there's a bump in the road here closer to about 1660, but as of right now, those are really the two intermediate levels before we get to that daily overhead target at 1727. So those are my thoughts here. It's all going to boil down to, do we get the gap and go, or do we get the gap and trap, in which case you can either look for the short or just step aside, let the pattern sort of pan out, come into the gap, reassess. If it's going to be a gap fill reversal, that's another potential setup here, right? So if it does do something like this, trade lower to fill the gap, be on the lookout for hammer candles that print. indecision doji candles that print, basically things that make you question, are we going to find support at the gap fill, repair the daily structure, and then can you flip long over the highs for either that upside move, or if you're a more conservative trader, it's back up and over the high of day after something like this has panned out. Here's your entry, looking for something like that. So those are a couple of scenarios to consider here inside of SoFi. If you enjoyed today's video or learned anything new, let me know in the comments section or by giving the video a thumbs up. Don't forget our main channel is linked in the description. And all of that being said, I wish you a green trading week.